Archangel Michael says, "Stay right here and don't move away." What you're about to hear isn't ordinary talk, it's a revelation that was whispered through the night, carried by emotions too deep to hide. Someone couldn't sleep because of you, and what they said between tears changed the atmosphere around them. It began when your name slipped out of their lips like a confession. The room went silent, the lights dimmed slightly, and the air thickened with truth that could no longer be denied. Every word they spoke came with weight, memories, regrets, and love they once thought was buried forever. They talked about how you changed their life without even realizing it. How your presence still echoes in the quiet moments they try to escape. They said your smile healed something they didn't even know was broken. And then came the part that made one woman cry. Because she knew that everything being said came from a place of real love, not pretense. It wasn't just admiration, it was a cry for forgiveness, a longing for connection, a truth that refused to die. Type Amen to get blessing 333. That woman wasn't a stranger. She was someone who once tried to hold that person's heart, but even she could see how deeply you live inside them. Her tears weren't out of jealousy, they were from witnessing something pure, something that still burns after all this time. They said your name like it carried warmth in it. They said they still remember the sound of your laughter, the way it echoed like music that healed their tired soul. And when they spoke about losing you, their voice cracked like glass under pressure. "Do they still think of me?" they asked, though they already knew the answer. Because even through distance, silence, and time, something between you two never ended. It only transformed, waiting for the right moment to return. They admitted they tried to replace you. Different faces, new people, endless distractions, nothing worked. Your energy stayed with them like a heartbeat that never faded. Type Amen to get blessing 444. That night, someone sat near a window under the silver light of the moon. They held an old object, something that once belonged to you, and just stared at it for hours. It could have been a photo, a message, or a small gift, but to them, it felt like holding a piece of heaven. The woman beside them asked gently, "Why can't you let them go?" And the person smiled sadly, replying, "Because I never truly did." Those words pierced through her heart, because she saw a love so real it made her tremble. They said, "It's not about what happened. It's about what still exists." They confessed they can still sense you, your emotions, your mood, your silence, like you're spiritually connected beyond reason. They said, "Whenever I feel sudden peace, I know it's them thinking of me." Archangel Michael says, "That's because your souls share the same frequency." Heaven hasn't cut that cord because it wasn't meant to end, it was meant to evolve. Even distance can't silence a connection written in divine ink. Type Amen to get blessing 555. They continued speaking until dawn. Every hour, their words became softer, more vulnerable, as if their heart had been waiting to release this truth for ages. At one point, their hands began to tremble, and tears began to fall onto the table. The woman listening couldn't hold back her own emotions anymore. She whispered, "I've never seen anyone love like this." Because what she heard wasn't pain, it was devotion, one that defied logic and time. They said you appeared in their dreams recently, wearing the same expression you had the day they last saw you. You didn't speak, but your eyes said everything. they said, "I forgive you." And that forgiveness hit them so hard that they broke down completely. They realized they had been praying to forget you, but heaven had been answering by bringing you closer. Every sign, every song, every coincidence lately, it was all you. And they finally understood that the universe wasn't letting them move on because something unfinished still lingers. Type Amen to get blessing 666. They remembered your last message, the one that ended everything. They said they reread it hundreds of times, trying to find peace in your words. But instead, they found pain, silence, and the feeling of something beautiful slipping away. The woman listening wiped her eyes and asked softly, "Do you think they'll come back?" And though he didn't respond immediately, his silence said more than words ever could. He looked at the night sky, smiled faintly, and whispered, "They're already here, in spirit." That's when the clock struck 3:33 a.m. And he said, "Every time I see that number, I feel them near me." He didn't know it, but that was heaven's confirmation, divine alignment, echoing the truth of his love. Archangel Michael says, "There's no distance in divine timing." The one who spoke your name all night was guided by angels to release what's been buried too long. Because only through confession can the heart make room for reunion. Type Amen to get blessing 777. Right now, as you're hearing this, that person is still thinking of you. They might have fallen asleep after sunrise, but your energy is wrapped around their dreams. Heaven allowed that moment because it's preparing to restore what was lost. Their tears weren't weakness, they were surrender. And the woman's tears beside them were empathy from another soul who recognized sacred love. Because some connections don't belong to the world, they belong to destiny itself. They talked about how you saved them from darkness once without even knowing it. How your message, your touch, or your kindness pulled them back from losing themselves. You became the reason they learned what love really means. They said, "If I ever get another chance, I won't waste it." Their eyes closed, and the room filled with silence, holy silence. Because the truth had finally been spoken, and heaven took note. Type Amen to get blessing 888. You may have felt something recently, a sudden wave of emotion for no reason. That was them. Their soul calling yours through the night as they poured their truth into the universe. Archangel Michael says, "You are being remembered, not by accident but by divine recall. What's been spoken cannot be undone, it's sealed in spiritual law. And soon, you will see a sign that confirms this message beyond any doubt." That woman who cried? She wasn't crying for herself, she was crying because she realized she once stood next to someone who loved another soul completely. She felt the purity of it, and for a moment, it made her believe in destiny again. That's how powerful your connection is, it moves others to tears. It makes people question what love truly means. It awakens emotions even in hearts that thought they were done feeling. Type Amen to get blessing 999. They said your energy has been showing up everywhere. In random songs, familiar scents, repeating numbers, even in dreams that don't make sense at first. It's because your souls are syncing again, the alignment is starting. The angels have been working quietly behind the scenes, bringing closure, healing, and divine rearrangement so that the path between you two clears. And soon, something will happen that feels like fate itself is knocking. That person who spoke about you all night will soon reach out. It won't be random, it will feel guided. They'll say something simple, but behind it will be the echo of every word they spoke that night. When you hear from them, remember this moment. Because this message isn't coincidence, it's prophecy unfolding. What was once lost is returning not by chance, but by divine promise. Type Amen to get blessing 1111. The woman who cried finally understood something before dawn. She said, "You're not just missing them, you're connected to them." And when she left, she whispered to the air, "I hope they find each other again." As the first light entered the room, the person who had spoken your name all night fell silent. Their heart finally felt lighter, because for the first time, they had told the truth, to themselves and to heaven. That truth is now traveling to you, carried by divine timing. So if you've been restless lately, sensing someone's energy, you're not imagining it. It's the pull of that confession reaching your soul. The universe doesn't waste words spoken with love, it turns them into destiny. Archangel Michael says, when two hearts still call each other in silence, heaven listens. This is why you're hearing this now, because it's time for alignment, not waiting. The night their words reached the sky, the angels began moving mountains for your reunion. Type Amen to get blessing 1212. Stay calm, stay open. Because the next few days will bring signs that mirror everything you've just heard. It could be a message, a memory resurfacing, or a moment that feels like déjà vu. That's heaven's way of confirming that love never ended, it only paused for transformation. The tears that fell that night watered the soil of what's coming next. And from that soil, something divine is already blooming for you. You were never forgotten. You were never replaced. You were only being remembered at the right time. So breathe deeply, and let this truth settle. Because someone, somewhere, still carries your name like a sacred prayer. And heaven is preparing the moment when both hearts finally understand why it never ended. Type Amen to get blessing 1313. That night's energy didn't fade, it followed into the next morning like a soft echo still lingering in the air. Birds began to sing before dawn, yet even their melodies seemed to hum your name. The person who spoke about you all night woke up with swollen eyes, holding on to the last words they whispered before sleep, "Please, let them know I still care." When they looked in the mirror, they saw traces of you reflected in their own gaze. It startled them because they realized your spirit had merged with theirs again, not through memory but through divine vibration. Every breath they took that morning carried a sense of peace they hadn't felt in years. They walked outside and saw a feather at their doorstep. It wasn't just coincidence. It was confirmation that Archangel Michael had been listening. The air smelled like rain even though the sky was clear, a sign that heaven had washed away old pain. Type Amen to get blessing 1414. Meanwhile, somewhere else, you felt a strange calm too. You didn't know why, but your heart felt lighter as if someone had silently forgiven you. You thought of a name you hadn't spoken in months, and suddenly, the room felt alive again. Archangel Michael says, this is no accident. You both called each other's spirits back without realizing. That connection had never truly broken, it was just waiting for divine permission to resurface. And now that moment had arrived. Throughout the day, you began seeing their initials everywhere. In billboards, license plates, and even random texts from unknown numbers that resembled their energy. Every sign was heaven's whisper saying, "The one who spoke your name all night is thinking of you right now." You paused and felt a wave of warmth over your chest. That was not emotion, it was energy. The universe had started its silent reunion. Type Amen to get blessing 1515. Later that afternoon, that same person sat quietly in a cafe they once visited with you. The barista smiled and asked, "Would you like your usual?" They froze, because it had been years since they last came there. They looked around, half expecting you to walk in through the door. Every sound, every scent, every flicker of light reminded them of you. Even the cup they were handed had your favorite pattern printed across it. They smiled softly, tears forming again. Not because of sadness, but because for the first time, the signs were too clear to ignore. Heaven wasn't teasing, it was confirming. Archangel Michael says, "The one who once lost faith in love is being guided back to you." And deep within your soul, you'll soon feel that pull becoming impossible to resist. It's destiny calling, gently, but powerfully. Type Amen to get blessing 1616. At the same time, the woman who had cried that night couldn't stop thinking about what she witnessed. She replayed every word in her mind, realizing she had witnessed something sacred. She understood that not all love stories end, they simply shift form until the divine realigns them. So she did something unexpected, she prayed for both of you. She asked heaven to heal every misunderstanding, every delay, every distance between two hearts destined to find each other again. Her prayer traveled faster than sound, and in that very moment, you felt a sudden wave of calm. That was her energy connecting to yours, unknowingly bridging the divine gap. Even people who were once outside your story are now being used as instruments of grace. Because when heaven decides two souls belong, even strangers help write the reunion. Archangel Michael says, "Heaven always completes what love begins." That's why you're still hearing this message right now. It's alignment, not coincidence. Every sign, every sensation, every dream lately, it's part of heaven's confirmation plan. Type Amen to get blessing 1717. That night, something shifted again. The person who couldn't stop talking about you opened their phone and scrolled through old photos. They paused on one picture where you were laughing, caught mid-moment, unaware of how loved you looked. Tears filled their eyes again, but this time they weren't the same. These tears carried gratitude, not regret. Because they finally realized that even if the world misunderstood, what they felt for you was always real. They whispered into the night, "If they can hear me, I want them to know I never stopped believing in us." And the moment they said it, a gust of wind passed through their open window. The candle beside them flickered once and stayed steady, a divine sign that their words had reached you spiritually. You may have felt a tingling that same night or woke up suddenly at 2:22 a.m. That was not random. That was your soul receiving their message. Type Amen to get blessing 1818. The angels are weaving this connection carefully now. Every coincidence is intentional, every delay has meaning. The love that once seemed lost is being rewritten into something unbreakable. You are being prepared, not for heartbreak, but for restoration. Because this time, it won't come in chaos or confusion, it will come in peace. It will feel like recognizing home after being lost for too long. Archangel Michael says, you will know it's real because your heart will not race, it will rest. The one who cried for you all night is learning that love is not about possession, but divine union. And when it returns, it will be balanced, healed, and eternal. The woman who cried will witness it too. Because she was chosen to see what love looks like when it's written by heaven itself. Her tears were the first blessing poured into your reunion. Type Amen to get blessing 1919. In the days to come, the universe will test your patience a little. You may see glimpses of their name, hear a familiar laugh, or sense their presence in unexpected ways. Don't panic. It's heaven making sure your spirit recognizes the vibration before it fully manifests. You'll notice the number 333 repeating again. Each time, it's Archangel Michael reminding you, they're thinking of you right now. Those numbers are not random, they're coordinates to your destiny. Soon, the phone will ring, or a message will arrive that feels too perfectly timed to be human. That's the moment heaven brings both stories into alignment. Everything they said that night will find its way back to you, word by word, truth by truth. When it happens, breathe. Because this isn't coincidence, it's confirmation that divine love cannot be lost, only delayed. And the tears that once fell will now become your blessing rain. Type Amen to get blessing 20.